You know that moment when someone in the room suddenly says, "Wait, I might be wrong," and everything goes quiet for half a second? Not awkward quiet, not someone just spilled a drink quiet, respectful quiet. You feel it immediately, don't you? Something subtle shifts. Your brain leans forward a little and goes, "Oh, that person's different." Because while most people treat opinions like personal property, defend at all costs, no refunds, no exchanges, a few do something rarer, stranger, smarter. They pause, they question themselves. Sometimes they even change their mind. And here's the uncomfortable truth most people don't like hearing. Only smart people do this consistently. Not loud smart, not trivia smart, not, "I watched one documentary and now I'm an expert" smart. I'm talking about psychological intelligence, the kind that reshapes how someone thinks, how they speak, how they handle conflict, and how they move through the world when nobody's clapping for them. Today, we're unpacking the quiet habit behind that moment, the behavior smart people slip into without announcing it, the one that separates surface intelligence from real mental strength. And as we go, you might start recognizing yourself, or you might suddenly understand someone who's always felt a little hard to read. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's the person who never argues the way everyone else does. Either way, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Let's start with the first profile. Picture this. You're in a group conversation. Opinions are flying. Everyone's talking just a little faster than they're listening. Arguments pile up like bricks, one point on top of another. Each person quietly trying to build the tallest tower in the room. And then there's that person. They don't jump in right away. They don't nod aggressively or interrupt mid sentence. They listen a beat longer than feels socially comfortable. They tilt their head slightly, like they're weighing something invisible. When they finally speak, it's not a declaration, it's a pause. Can I think about that for a second? Or, even more unsettling, "You know what? I might be wrong about this." This is the intellectual doubter. Smart people don't cling to certainty the way insecure minds do. Psychologically, higher intelligence is strongly linked to cognitive flexibility, the ability to hold conflicting ideas without feeling personally threatened by them. For them, being wrong isn't humiliation, it's information. Changing their mind doesn't feel like losing status, it feels like updating software. No meltdown, no defensiveness, no dramatic backtracking, just a quiet internal click. New data received. And if you're watching this thinking, yeah, but doesn't that make them look unsure? That's the illusion. Only people who aren't afraid of being wrong can afford to admit it out loud. Then there's another type, subtler, and often misunderstood. You know the person who asks what sounds like a stupid question in a meeting? The one that makes half the room internally sigh. "Sorry, can we back up for a second? Why are we assuming this part?" Silence. People shift in their chairs. Someone clears their throat. And slowly, painfully, it becomes obvious no one actually has a solid answer. This is the strategic simplifier. Highly intelligent people are allergic to unnecessary complexity. They don't mistake confusion for sophistication. In fact, when something sounds overly complicated, their instincts kick in. Psychologically, this comes from depth processing. Smart minds don't skim the surface, they drill downward. They want to understand why something works before they care how impressive it sounds. So while others are stacking jargon like armor, this person gently removes the mask and exposes the weak point underneath. If that's you, you've probably been labeled overthinking at least once, maybe more than once. What people usually mean is, "You saw something we missed, and it made us uncomfortable." Then there's the profile that often goes unnoticed, even though it might be the strongest indicator of intelligence in the room. Imagine someone being criticized, not lightly, not politely, directly. Most people react instantly. They explain, they justify, they counterattack. Even their body tightens, shoulders rise, jaw sets, eyes narrow. But this person pauses, they listen, actually listen. And instead of pushing back, they say, "That's fair. I hadn't seen it that way." That's not weakness, that's emotional intelligence fused with cognitive control. Smart people regulate their egos before they regulate the conversation. Neurologically, They tend to have stronger connections between emotional centers and reasoning centers. Translation: they don't let feelings hijack thinking. They understand something most people don't. Defending your self image is far more exhausting than improving it. And while this way of responding doesn't always win immediate approval, it quietly earns something better: trust. Over time, people notice. They realize this person doesn't speak just to fill space. When they do respond, it's considered, measured, useful. And yes, this calm can make them seem unreadable, almost distant. But inside, their mind is working fast, just quietly. Then comes the twist most people don't expect. Some of the smartest people you'll ever meet deliberately downplay their intelligence. They soften their language. They say, I think, instead of I know. They leave space for disagreement, even when they're confident they're right. Why? Because intelligence correlates with awareness of uncertainty. The more someone understands about people, systems, or life itself, the more they recognize how much is unknowable. Overconfidence usually signals shallow understanding. Humility, on the other hand, often comes from depth. So when someone sounds less certain, not more, it's not always insecurity. Sometimes it's respect for complexity and the patience to let understanding catch up. And finally, there's the behavior that ties all of this together. Smart people slow down their thinking. They don't rush to react. They don't fill every silence just to avoid discomfort. They allow thoughts to breathe before releasing them into the world. In a culture addicted to instant opinions, that restraint looks almost rebellious. It can even feel lonely at times, like you're moving at a different speed than everyone else. But psychologically, it's powerful. Slower thinking allows deeper pattern recognition, better judgment, and fewer emotional misfires. It's why some people speak less, but when they do, it lands. So if you've ever been told you're too quiet, too cautious, or thinking too much, you might not be broken. You might just be wired differently. So let me ask you, honestly, which profile felt uncomfortably familiar? The self doubter who updates their beliefs, the simplifier who asks the dangerous questions, the listener who doesn't rush to defend, or the quiet thinker who moves at their own mental pace. Sit with it for a second, because real intelligence doesn't rush to be seen. It doesn't shout for attention or chase the spotlight. It listens, adjusts, stays curious, and keeps thinking, even when no one's watching, even when there's nothing left to prove. And that quiet discipline, that might be the smartest habit of all.